Hello, everyone. Welcome to A Matter of Degrees, the show where we open up authentic conversations with creators, innovators, leaders, and thinkers. Because, as our guest today will attest, doing the right thing and doing the best thing is just a matter of degrees.
Yeah.
Right? So, thank you, Vaney, for being here. We appreciate you. For those uninitiated, we're very familiar with Vaney and his organization, but for those who are unfamiliar with Think 3D and what you guys do, Can you give us a little bit of context about what it is that you guys are doing out here?
Yeah, so Think 3D, we specialize in leadership development training and organizational and community culture. What that means is we help organizations, all different shapes and sizes, and communities enhance their culture. And part of the reason why we say enhance is because, as we say, a culture will emerge whether intended or not, but if it's not one that you invest in, it'll be one that you pay for.
Yeah.
And so what we find is the sticking point for a lot of organizations and communities is how people communicate, how they come together, and what it is they produce. And we kind of help that go a little bit better.
You know, I love that. And we immediately identified with Think 3D as a marketing agency in the communication business, that there's the external communication and then there's a whole other side of that that's arguably more important, which is the internal communication. And being able to be on the same page there allows you to do some really good things out there. But what were you seeing in just the community or the business world that sort of sparked the kind of Think 3D idea and allowed you guys to get into organizations at that level?
Well, honestly, it didn't come first from what we were seeing. It came first from what we were feeling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We were working. I think sometimes the thing that keeps people from being where they need to be is that they don't really use their own experience as evidence. Like, do I like how I feel? Do I like, what I'm doing or the way I'm doing it? And one of the things we just noticed is that I actually liked the job I was at, most of the things that I was doing for the most part. I like the people that I were with. Many of them I'm still friends with today and have deep relationships with. The challenge is it didn't feel good a lot of times because we didn't know why we were doing something, or we weren't properly equipped with it. We didn't talk, or our leaders were executing things that you could tell they didn't believe in, or that they weren't prepared for. And it was all of that, just the messiness of it that created the negative energy. And we knew right from the jump that that's something that we would be able to impact, not only because we could appreciate all of the different aspects through moving through our organizations and having different roles and different positions, but also just being willing to look at it from a different perspective. And as we say, we don't advocate for anyone, we advocate for everyone. So there's humans in here. And as and one of the other things we say is humans are easier to get along with when you account for them being humans.
That's interesting. Do you think that workplaces, not exclusive to higher ed, I think every workplace has a culture, like you said, with whether you're working on it or not. Why is it that you think that culture sort of can get buzzwordy, it can get trendy, we can talk about culture, we can put things in our offices to promote culture, but to you, at the core, what is it, and how do you work on it?
Well, culture, is defined as the arts, artifacts, and contributions of a group or a community, right? It's what we do. If you got more than one person, you got a culture. That's just what that is.
Yeah.
How we talk, what we produce, how we treat each other. And as you can see, even in the state of our country and world, just in general, that is a difficult thing to do when there's so many different perspectives, worldviews, methodologies, ideologies in terms of how you want to approach any one thing. And so the art of communication and compassion and camaraderie, it's hard to blend all of that. Like, it's easy to make a good culture. It's easy to make money. It's hard to do both. Like, if you don't care how you make the money, you don't care what it does to other people, how it impacts people, your family, yourself, you can make it. If you want to have a culture and you're not responsible for anything, you don't have to make anything that doesn't, you don't have to, there's no rub, there's no challenge.
Yeah.
We can hang out, have a grand old time. If you're trying to do both, they naturally challenge each other and it becomes much more difficult.
What do you say when a leader or an organization approaches you and says, we need to fix the culture? Do you agree with that sort of verbiage and that narrative around something's broken or wrong with it? And what would you say when someone approaches you and says, we need to fix our culture?
Yeah, no, I don't agree with that. Certainly that's not the role that we play. We help you enhance it because, again, you have one already. Yeah. And there's naturally elements of it that are worthy and useful and beneficial that people enjoy. But the greater picture is that the culture is made up of people, and people are not meant to be fixed. They're meant to be loved, healed, and developed. It's all something that is progressive. It's the journey. So the idea of being fixed is like when people say, find a solution. These are finite terms.
Yeah.
They suggest that once you find the thing that works, it will work forever. And we know that that's not true of many things.
Yeah.
I would go as far as to say anything, but for sure.
I'd agree with you there. What would you say when you see an organization, I mean, specifically in higher ed, these are organizations that are, and you guys have work and experience with higher education, siloed, departmentalized, they're very unit-based, and oftentimes the communication between those departments can get really challenging, or sometimes it's non-existent. And so to order for them to move to a more open culture or a more communicative culture, what advice or thoughts do you have on situations like that a lot of our audience is in?
Well, it's challenging for those types of industries and spaces in general, just based off of the kind of premise that, doctors make the worst patients.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, people who are close to a thing naturally are blind to a lot of those things and overestimate what they're doing. A lot of people at churches, right, or nonprofits, they think because they're doing good that they're doing it good. And a lot of people that are, when you have a place full of smart people, they assume that they're approaching it intelligently. Or even when you have culture people, you assume that everybody is appreciating the culture. Yeah. And that's just not necessarily the case. You got a bunch of smart people there, not necessarily approaching these challenges intellectually, philosophically. But
interesting in academics, right?
Interesting. But when you are in the business of academics, when you have a campus with X facilities and X humans and X meal plans and X teams and yada, 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 what you need is an organization. And what happens with anyone is they always have the challenge of keeping the main thing and not allowing the process to be more important than what you produce. Yeah. Because naturally, if we need a process to get that thing, this comes before that. And so this naturally becomes our initial focus. But how do you stay connected to that and keep it at a higher priority than this? So now you can say, we're doing the process really well. Cool, but
what's it do?
Do we? What does it do, though?
Yeah.
Like, we meet all of our deadlines and we get all of our briefs in and we have all of our meetings. Sure, but no one likes our media. Or young people aren't responding to us. Correct. Or we're getting older and whatever it is, whatever your KPIs are, right? And when I say KPIs, I don't just mean analytical, I mean anecdotal. Sometimes people, smart people, put so much pressure or over-index analytical data without appreciating anecdotal data. And I would go as far as to say, when everybody is here having a human experience, that data is the more valuable data. That's what I think is happening. Yeah. You can show me whatever numbers you want, but that's not my experience. Yeah. There's only so much stock I'm going to put in that actually in terms of how it drives my behavior.
So off that, what do you think, and you guys have structures and processes for a lot of this stuff too, when you work with an organization, but how do you measure that sort of anecdotal stuff? I mean, we've talked about it, our organization has talked about it, but from your perspective, how do you measure culture?
That's why people don't invest in it. You know what I mean? Because you don't get the traditional KPIs, right? It's not just a number up, number down. Now, if anybody, to be honest with you, fired a couple brain cells in that direction, you would be able to put some of this together, right? You would be able to say, okay, our attrition numbers that lead to an actual dollar amount that impacts how we can do the other things that we do is directly based to how people feel, no matter what you buy them, no matter how you train them, how they feel. A person can intellectually know that, but they don't want to make an investment into feelings because you can't nail it down. You can't buy it.
On a spreadsheet,
You can't make it perform how you want it to. And a human has to go check in with the human and then assess what they think about that human. And then that human needs to be able to articulate what their experience is so the person doesn't have to assess it. They can get it from the horse's mouth. Between those two things, you can get an idea of what your culture actually looks like. But what's the practicality of that, right? Yeah. I had a leader come to me, and sometimes I swear people would pay us more if we just told them they were doing everything right. You know what I'm
I'm sure they will.
saying? You know, and the person says, you know, he's like, what do you mean? So what are you saying? Are you saying I need to care about all my employees and I need to go, you know, have relationships with them? I'm like, yeah, pretty much. That's what I'm saying. Well, how am I supposed to do that with 1,000 people? I don't know if you can.
Yeah.
But that doesn't change.
The intention behind the,
Yeah, and it doesn't change the expectation of a person. You know, a lot of times when people talk about business, I go to a lot of business things to talk, and people, one of the biggest buzzwords is workforce.
Yeah.
And one of the things I have to remind people is, it's like, it's not a workforce, it's a life force. You think somebody moved here just to work for you? Is that the context you think of this person in? Is that they do things for you and nothing else? That's why we call it Think 3D. You know I'm three-dimensional, not just because of me, but because of the things around me. That's what gives me my dimension. You know, the reason why people can pick up the depth in this thing, because we're not against something flat. We're not flat against something flat, right? We have all these things around us. Same thing with your life and your family and those types of things. So if you're not thinking about what's happening to a person, you're thinking about that person two-dimensionally, and it's flat. That's why people go off of printouts.
Yeah.
It's two-dimensional. But once you look three-dimensional, now you got to be accountable for how I feel today. Do I still know how to do my job like I did yesterday? Yeah. Do I still know what the goal is and what my expectations are? Yeah. Am I still familiar with the policies and procedures and rules and job expectations? Yeah. But my mother died. I'm going through a divorce.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Real stuff. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't, where does this rank in terms of the stuff in my life? But we still got a deadline. So that just makes it inconvenient.
Yeah.
And so that makes it less of a priority. But I think most people, if they look at their lives and what drove them to be better people in quality situations, is managing inconvenience. That's the part you really got to drill down. If something is inconvenient, it likely requires your attention.
I like that. Where do you see the most change coming from in these culture discussions? Is it coming from the top with the leadership? Is it coming from the employees? I mean, I'm sure it's a combination of both, but how do you see that present itself in your guys' work?
Yeah. It's an interesting thing. You know, our path in is almost always through the person who's supposed to coordinate or whatever, right? So people manager, or in terms of from an HR perspective, or somebody like that, right?
Yeah.
But they always got to go sell it to somebody else.
Yep.
Somebody that usually is in a position where their experience is atypical. So
Interesting.
saying, hey, the culture is not great here. The person who's the tip of the spear is probably like, well, it doesn't seem that bad to me. Because they know everything that they're providing and what it costs.
Yep.
They know all the challenges that they have and that they have to manage and what it takes. They know what they want to have happen. They know what their intentions are, maybe even what their heart is.
Yeah.
And so when you put all of that together, I think I'm doing a pretty good job because I'm juggling more than you can appreciate.
Yeah.
You might not know how many times I've pulled this out of almost having to cut a couple of y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all don't know how I've had to hold on to people when it meant I might put the entire organization at peril. So when you want Beer Cart Fridays, or when you're mad because we've never upgraded the coffee, that might be a real thing for you, and it might be legitimate. That's not going to rise to the level that the things I did. So I feel like we're doing a great job.
Sure. Perspectives.
You know
Yeah.
You know, we're killing it. 'Cause we went through some stuff.
If you guys knew about it.
Right. You know what I'm saying? So it's very hard to do that, which is why we say we don't advocate for anybody. We advocate for everybody. Everybody's in a boat. Like if you ever are a person that gets comfortable with not understanding, knowing, caring, being curious about, or investing in someone else's experience, you should have very low expectation that person be engaged, stay engaged, or work with any type of energy and effort to help anything that you got going on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So if you're not interested in what's going on with me and mines, care about your reports, your GPS reports or whatever, it don't even make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good. I mean, it's interesting because I think, especially on the marketing teams we work with, which are usually understaffed, under-resourced, and under-led,
Almost always.
not for lack of leadership present, right? But I think oftentimes our clients, our sort of audience, can only go so far, right? And in the marketing realm, we're trying to get a student to buy in, right, to our situation. And we always go back to, and we have these conversations all the time of like, this is all commoditized, right? You can find a lower tuition price if you look hard 100%. Enough. What they're buying is the experience there with your people, with your campus community, with your professors, with the community at large. And so having a perspective on not only the institutional culture, but how that sort of campus-wide culture can be communicated internally first, so that we can have a external conversation about it, is something we're constantly sort of fighting the battle of. And I don't really have a question there, but just thoughts and perspectives.
No, I get you. No, that's very tough. Really, the only, in my experience, particularly in larger organizations, the only ones that typically are provided a clear path is sales, finance, and legal. For the reasons that we said, right?
It's tied directly to number up, number down.
Number up, number down. Finance, money in, money out. And then legal. You could do this, you can't do that.
Really finite, black and white kind
binary
of things.
Is very simple. Those things usually, and those things normally represent what runs the company.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sales keeps the lights on. That's the money in. You got to do that. Finance makes sure we're not bleeding it. That we're not. You're right. That we're not losing it. So if we got the money to do it, maybe we do it. If we don't have the money to do it, we can't do it, right? And then legal, again, it's
right and wrong. Yeah,
it says right here, and even more to the point with legal, that drives a lot of what you do, because legal doesn't even just create the lines; it create the curbs. So nobody makes the line the edge.
Yeah,
because if you cross the line, well, nobody wants that. So you create curbs. So even what you can legally do, they put curbs in there, so if you fall out of policy, you're not falling out of law.
Yeah.
So even that constricts it even tighter. You know what I'm saying? So between all of those things, between the financial constraints, and between the legal procedural constraints, you're asking somebody to be creative in that. Yeah. On a clock.
With a deadline.
With a budget.
Yep.
With a da-da-da. So now to have people who can create on demand, which is very rare. Very, very rare. To have people who can create period, which is rare. To have people who can create together, which is rare. And to have people who can create based off an order or an expectation. Yeah. So particularly in
layers.
Nuts.
Yeah.
And you're dealing with multiple departments that might have different masters and different goal sets. Right? And not necessarily someone or something that is coalescing all of those things into the goal set.
Interesting.
So it is very challenging out of the gate, even if you just laid out the pieces. Yeah. It's like flipping over a 10,000 piece puzzle. Like whether putting a piece into another piece is very easy. Yeah. It's not challenging. It is only difficult in the context of there's a greater picture here. Yeah. And I don't have all of the pieces.
Interesting. I think one of the things I loved about, I spent some time with Think 3D in your guys' Leaders of Tomorrow program, which we can plug for sure. But, something we talked about there was sort of this idea of power and communication between, whether that's with a conflict or just I need something and you need something, how can we both get on the page and move forward? And that was really powerful for us as an organization dealing with different clients from different backgrounds and all of that. But something that I immediately saw applicable to our work with higher education is our marketing teams have to work with their admissions teams. And it's the sales and marketing coin of two sides of the same story, but ultimately with the same goal set, right? But institutionally, maybe not, right? At the core of it, yes. Right. But how our structure and how our protocols and procedures facilitate that may or may not be conducive to actual collaboration and actual results, right? So in those situations, maybe you've got all of this political constraint, or you've got these sort of procedural, departmental lines in the sand, right? What can someone do that's in that situation that can help push it forward, or at least feel closer to that, or be on the same page, or use some communication techniques to feel like they've got some control there?
The general theme, if you're trying to move things forward, you really want to kind of do three things, right? You want to develop a commitment, because number one, you have to appreciate that this is nothing of significance happens without intention. So the chances of this happening without you choosing to do it and being committed to it, meaning doing it long enough that it could work.
Yes.
And abandoning the idea or the expectation that something happened instantly when there's no historical evidence that anything does.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So once you make that commitment, that automatically puts you in a different class of individual. The willing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Which is huge.
Right. Because the can or can't is not as much of a thing as the will or won't. You know what I'm saying? So you will. The second thing is activities. A lot of times, again, particularly with intellectuals, we stay in concepts. This is what we should be doing. We should be doing that, all those other type of things, versus what is the activity that I'm doing. And those activities don't have size because they could have ripples, right? The reason why we don't concern ourselves with the size is because we can't define what the ripple does, right? We can only throw the rock.
Interesting.
So big rock, small rock, right?
Something's going to happen.
Something's going to happen. Now, what that ripple produces, I don't know, okay? And I want to create as many of those ripples as possible in the chance of getting a wave. It's similar to a viral video. You don't make a viral video. You make a bunch of videos, and one of them goes viral. You know what I mean? And then you start to figure out what makes viral videos, and then you can get some consistency. So it's about that. So having an activity. Sometimes that might be, I'm going to come in, I'm going to say hello to everybody in my section. Now, that seems like a small thing until you walk into and work with so many organizations that don't do that. And you feel the energy of organizations that don't do that.
Yeah.
And then you realize that not saying hello thing
That was something,
was something when you get into a meeting and there's no trust there. And then the last thing is you got to create coalition, which is you got to intentionally try to draw together. Right now, we have everybody that's interested in being in their customized environment, which might be at home, which might be in their cube, which might be in their office. They want to be in their area to create their safe space within this space.
Interesting.
But when we don't seek the goal of making the space safe versus having a safe space, everybody's in their deal, and we don't draw close to each other. And safety becomes the misconception about safety is people think safety is people not being able to hurt you.
Yeah.
And that's not safety. Safety is people not wanting to. Humans are very fragile things when you really think about it. If somebody wants to hurt you, they can. You can't eliminate that. So a lot of times we isolate to create safety versus creating environments where nobody's here to hurt you.
Yeah.
And that is a collaborative environment that can happen. So when you're doing those three things, when you're making a commitment to do the things, saying, I'm one of the will people, I'm going to do it, and it will never make sense for me not to pursue it because I do not care for the environment of when I'm in a space where people are not pursuing happiness.
Yeah.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So be alive, be free, be happy. You don't get them. You get to be alive, hopefully. You know what I mean? Like if you breathe in air, you get to be alive, right? You get to be free, hopefully. That's not whatever. And you get to be happy, hopefully. But hope is not a strategy.
Yeah.
So what are you doing to stay alive? What are you doing to stay free? What are you doing to get and stay happy? And that has to become part of the goal. And then that does that. So when we create the commitment, when we take advantage of the opportunities, we're doing a thing. And then when we intentionally try, like I like liking people.
Yeah, me too.
Some people, you just want everybody to like you. Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
What's the ROI of not? Yeah.
Right. Will everyone like me? Probably not. But I'm cool if they all do. In fact, I would appreciate it if they all did. Now, am I going to ever work so hard to get someone else to like me that I don't like myself? No.
Different thing. Yeah.
That's a different thing. but I do want people to like me, and I want to like you. And so when you do that, those three things, you almost always move something forward.
That's amazing. Thank you for that. There was a couple threads there. One about sort of being hurt, right? I think professionally, we do think about it when you say safety and when you were working with us, and that was like on the hierarchy of needs, right? Is safety and security. You think about it like that, right? Is someone out to, come get me or whatever? But I think feeling safe at work is cultural in that we've all been in an environment, or we've all been around someone who didn't want the best for you, or was out to, sort of disparage your work, or say that wasn't good enough. And I think that's common in these sort of departmental sort of silos where that team does this and we do this, and it sort of creates this us and them mentality. And we see that a ton with admissions and marketing. Pulling from another part of that conversation when you were talking about the attrition rates and the turnover around measurables, higher ed admission teams are bleeding. I mean, they have a hard time retaining good talent, 100%. Especially at those frontline spots that oftentimes when we talk to students that have been admitted, we'll do a branding campaign and do a focus group of first-year freshmen. Why did you select this university or this brand? And it almost always comes down to an experience they had with another human
100%.
In that environment.
100%.
And so 100%. That human environment combination is why I wanted to talk and have your perspectives on this, because I think that can really help our audience. But to the question, what's one thing that at least you've seen, or maybe you're just sort of have a gut feeling about that, like, what are the sort of quiet killers that aren't glaring but are shaping culture behind the scenes, whether that's the sort of open door meetings that are happening, or the sort of stories getting told around the water cooler? What are you seeing on in the stealth area?
There's a couple things, and I'll go back to what you even said before, that we've all been around people who were doing various things to us. One of the things that we ask people to think about right out of the gate is distinguishing the difference between hurt and harm. And understanding the difference between somebody doing something to you versus somebody doing something that impacts you. Two different things. So hurt versus harm. Hurt is a outcome. Harm is an intention. There's people who will hurt you that never meant to harm you.
Yeah, I didn't mean to. Yeah.
And a lot of times what happens is that when we feel hurt, we accuse harm versus having the courage or the skill set to articulate our hurt. Like if I took something in here and I threw it at you and hit you in the head, it would hurt. Would it hurt less if I told you I didn't mean it?
Probably not.
No, because impact doesn't require intention. You
still happened.
If you do an anvil out of your apartment building, you might not have meant to hit me, but you hit me. So that's irrelevant. So I want to articulate my hurt, but I don't necessarily have to accuse harm. I don't know that you did it on purpose, and I don't need you to have done it on purpose. The assumption is, if you do something to me that hurts me, you meant to do it. I don't know that. You know what I mean? Like, for whatever reason. Because what are the chances? What are the chances that I'm the point for you? What are the chances that I woke up, got dressed, got my stuff together, left my family, the sanctity of my home, the safety of my home, got in my car, got in the traffic, drove to work to commit 8 to 10 hours of my day to ruin yours? What are the chances you were the point for me today? What are the chances that instead of my family, instead of my bills, instead of my dreams, instead of my passions, I'm worried about screwing with you? It's not likely. Could it be possible? Sure, but it's irrelevant. Hey, man, that hurt me. I didn't mean to. Not saying that you did. But I want you to understand, because responsibility is a byproduct of awareness. So my job is to make you aware so you can be responsible for how you impact me. I'm not saying whether you did it on purpose or not. Now, there's patterns and trends, and after all, I can do it. So one of the biggest things is just getting people to come off of that part of it.
Yeah.
And just being able to say, since something happens that negatively impacts me, I don't assume that anybody did it. I want everyone to know, though.
Yeah.
This is how this makes me feel. So I would appreciate it.
Yeah. I like that about responsibility and awareness. I think that was something that was really big in our Leaders of Tomorrow group around, being in that group or feeling like we wanted to professionally develop. We have a responsibility to pursue that or to, be in that space for ourselves. But no, I love that. That was great.
Yeah. And so that's, that's a big part of it. And then the other thing is like you mentioned, the stuff that silent killers are resentments and assumptions. Two things kill relationships, resentments and assumptions. Resentments are the things I don't like about you that I never tell you. Assumptions being the things I think about you that I never ask you. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, like when you wrote that email, it felt sharp to me. Was that what you were going for? No. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now, I don't even need you to email different. See, people assume that we solved the problem by you behaving differently. I don't even need, that wasn't the issue. The issue was
Acknowledgement, yeah.
I thought that you were meaning this. I asked you, turns out you weren't. Now, my job is to take that information, trust it or not, and go about my business.
Yeah. That was one of the biggest takeaways for me, that at least it was so easy to apply in our day-to-day and just in the environment that we're in, which is fast-paced. There are short emails, or so I think, or there are, slights, or so I think. But the quote that you had pulled out was assume good intention, assume positive intention, right? And then work from there. And that was a really applicable sort of nugget that you guys.
I'll even tell you, I'm probably even adjusting on that a little bit. Like, I tell people to assume positive intent, but honestly, I think it's more likely that there's no intent.
Yeah.
The people are not just running around moo-ha-ha-ha, you know what I mean? They're just not. Like, you know what I mean? Like, somebody try to figure out, as soon as I just really got honest with myself, sometimes when I'm not being whatever with my wife, it's like, I don't feel up picking up those socks. I just don't feel like it, right? I'm not thinking about, ooh, I'm going to terrorize my wife by putting it. You know what I mean? I'm not doing that. Or when you run it behind, it's not like the whole city is like coordinating itself to keep you from getting to work on time. Like,
get the red light, get the red light.
Turning on Minnesota. Stop, slow down. Okay, I'm going to trap him in. Like, what are the chances?
Yeah.
So what's more likely is the person is not considering you at all, which oftentimes is the part that hurts, is that person wasn't thinking about you. You know what I'm saying? So it's far less likely that person is trying to hurt you versus that person ain't thinking about you at all, which is still can hurt.
Sure.
But it's not hard.
And we're back to, no, I love it. If you were leading a university marketing team, where would you start with the culture, with the communication, and with the leadership?
I mean, I would start with the people that I want to respond to said marketing.
Yeah.
And not just who is paying for it, but who is for it. And now, when we think about it, it's for everyone. But not just what is it for in terms of serving the university. What is the university for?
Yes.
So, like, when we talk about sending humans to the university, what is that for? What would you say?
Why are we sending kids to college?
Yeah, why college at all?
To attain a higher level of education for an outcome on the professional environment that person desires.
Okay.
I think is the common.
What do you think the outcome is that? The outcome of that is? So,
better job, higher paying salary.
And what's the outcome of that?
A better life, a better.
And there we are.
Yeah.
The main thing got to stay the main thing.
Yeah.
It's so hard to get people to actually say that out loud because it doesn't feel like it's a good enough goal.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like a real goal. And so it stops becoming the goal. So if what we're talking about is getting people to a quality of life, why don't I talk to people about that?
Yeah.
Why don't I talk about people what it feel like here? What's going to happen in between your classes? Who cares if we have top of the line facilities if you don't feel safe in them? If you don't feel wanted in them? Who cares if we have a great football team or anything like that when its players are not being developed into great men or women? You know what I mean? That are going to impact the community in a healthy way. Those types of things. So that's where I would start. Is like the real thing that we're trying to accomplish. The other thing is that if I don't want to just send my child to a place where they're getting a degree. I want to send my child to a place where they have a higher quality of life and they're learning things that are going to help them get a higher quality of life. Now, that also doesn't mean that you're coming here just to enjoy yourself, because that doesn't necessarily lead to a higher quality of life, because easy can't prepare you for hard. So I also want you to understand that part of the relationship we're going to have is we're going to challenge you, and we're going to help make you ready for what the world is actually going to send to you. And we're going to actually make sure you're prepared. And part of that is through love. Part of that is through camaraderie. Part of that is through philosophy and the liberal arts in terms of being able to chew or bat around an idea. And part of it is going to be the steely discipline of learning how to get up when you don't feel like it, go to a place you don't feel like, work with people you don't feel like, do stuff you don't feel like, at a level you didn't pick consistently. Because guess what you're going to do for much of the rest of your life.
That part.
So the money might seem a little whatever, the food might be wherever, but we're going to make monsters here that are going to go into the world and put an imprint on it versus not being able to look somebody in the eye, not being able to take feedback without breaking down, not being able to fold up as soon as the wind blows, and having the skill to be dynamic no matter what type of world they inherit. Now that
we can work with. Yeah, we can work with.
I can get it. Who got a problem with that?
Yeah. Well,
so that type of thing.
I love it, and that brings so many ideas around conversations we've had where it feels like universities and schools are afraid of some of that, right? You know, and I think that's part of the groupthink, sort of sea of sameness, safe environment that we're playing in around job placement rates and facilities, and we have better professors who care, you know, and one of the things I loved about the verbiage with Think 3D is, well, what are the artifacts and the evidence of that?
Yes.
Right? If you care harder, school, what are the pieces of evidence and the
100%.
artifacts that we can present in our marketing department that communicate that?
And are dynamic and real. Like if I have I don't have children, but if I had a kid, I've developed hundreds of them. So I have the objectivity of not having kids.
Yeah.
But I've developed hundreds of kids. I would send my kid to a place that was trying to create safety, but I would never send my kid to a place that was teaching them to expect safety.
Yeah.
You what are you doing to my child?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like when I'm on the campus, when they walk in here or there, do I want to be safe? Of course. When they're in a building or at a party, do I want to be safe? Of course. But do I want you to create a child or help create an adult that believes that safety is owed to them and that they just get it wherever without their participation? Mm-hmm. Not because I live in the real world.
And they will too.
And they will too. Mm-hmm. And those types of messages are really simple to tell. When you have talent in your professors and you have philosophy where they are practitioners,
yes,
right, where they actually do the thing, or they're real philosophers, meaning they really think about the thing, versus people who are executing a syllabus. I don't want my kid in there with them,
and you can immediately tell
because you're a house cat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. You're not having to go get the thing. I want that person in there that's like, when they come in to a class,
here we go.
Here we go. Mm-hmm. I need that. So I think those things are easy to tell. I think those are really stories that are become easier to tell with your alumni. Yeah. Because those people are those people. You produce them, and if you produce those kinds of people, they're going to have the data
to show. Yeah.
To show. Mm-hmm. For your educator class, you're going to have some gravitas to it, where you get to come here and be active-minded. You get to participate. Not everything going to line up the way people want it to, because you're not always going to learn from somebody that could do it off of a conveyor belt. Yeah. That's always going to do it in a way that everyone likes it. So now we have an appetite for that. But also, we're going to feed your brain, your spirit, and your soul with art and community and athletics and dynamic things that feed the whole of who you are. Mm-hmm. So you have a holistic experience. And then we're going to give you the safest simulation of the next level of life you will ever get. And in this time, yes, we are putting a protection around you, but it's a boundary, not a wall. Stuff can touch you, stuff can get to you, stuff can make you feel whatever. And then we're going to work you through it, talk you through it, help you develop the skills and resilience that the world is going to demand from you. And then there's the impact of the parent, which is saying, this is your child's last chance to tighten the screws before you know they're going into that world that you live in currently. Mm-hmm. What do you really want them to learn? And then tell that story. And I think between all of those things together, I think you can make a really compelling case. And if you have the courage to do it in dynamic ways that are not based on the small print, but are based on what the overall actual goal is, which is higher quality of life, I think you can tell those stories in really, really special ways.
That's beautiful. I think, we see so much of the marketing that blends in, right? I mean, we're telling clients the more you sound like this, the safer you go, the riskier it is, 100%. Because you're blending in and then you're nobody, right? If you're everything to somebody, you're nothing to nobody. And so it's what are the distinct points and part of what we're trying to communicate creatively to clients is distinction over differentiation.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can't really get that different in this box that we're in that is higher education. You're going to offer the classes, you're going to have the structure, you're going to have the campus life and all of the things, right? But what makes it you university, and 100%. What makes it you community college or technical school, right? And getting to that answer, I think, requires a really close examination of the culture.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you can articulate who you are or what value you're bringing to a student or a community without first looking inward and understanding what do we have here.
Responsibility is a byproduct of awareness. If you're not self-aware, not self-conscious.
Yeah, different.
If you're self-aware and you just understand like what's really going on in our space, now you can become responsible for it. You can step back and say, we're not creative anymore, or we're not dynamic anymore. We don't do the thing. We're not looking for anybody to blame. We're not looking for anybody whose fault it is. We just assess that we don't have that skill set anymore, that drive anymore, whatever it is. And we're going to seek to rectify that as best we know how. But we're going to start from the root because we want to do it legitimately. The safest place anybody can be is authentic. When you are who you are authentically, people are going to know what to expect from you. Mm-hmm. You're not going to have to hide. You're not going to have to manage two brains or two experiences or all of those other type of things. And you're able to be congruent with what the world and what it is that you're doing. So once you get authentic and you get honest about what it is that you are, the messaging around it becomes pretty straightforward because this is who or what we are. You know what I mean? And so it's one of those things where you'll find that it creates their own boundaries.
Yeah.
To be able to say, well, we're not going to talk like that because we're not that.
Yeah.
And we're not going to do that because we don't do that. This is who we are. Now, it's not saying that we're not willing to listen to that or be that, or we're not willing to do that, but as we have evaluated it, that's not consistent to who we are. Now, same thing with people on my team, for instance. Mm-hmm. Like, listen, if you have a different way to get to where we're going, I want to hear it. I want all the brains, all the minds. I want to hear it. If you think you have a better way to get to where we're trying to go, it's a responsibility for you to share it with me if you really want to go there. Now, if you want to go someplace else, you have to go someplace else.
Yeah.
Because that's not where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
It's
pretty black and white there,
now, and if you can't staff up 50 people in whatever department because that's who you are, then you have to step back and evaluate and say, either we change who we are or we get it done with 25 people.
I mean, that's a better conversation, I think.
Right.
And
it's a more realistic conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, something with these, kids these days, right? I think it's everybody, right? Everybody appreciates a level of authenticity and a level of vulnerability,
right,
and a level of truth. I think, we've especially in media, especially in advertising, it's for years been sort of veiled truths and straight falsehoods or misrepresentations or misinformation, where I think schools can really find some ground is in the truth telling, is in the authenticity. And it feels scary because we don't do it that way, right? It's very prestigious and it's very political. But I think, when a school can be brave enough to go there or, find some space there.
Yeah, I think part of it is just a naive assumption that people don't have access to the truth if you don't give it to them. Like, we all can see what's happening with secondary education.
Yeah.
You cannot talk about it if you don't want to, but like,
it's out here.
We can see you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? We can see the numbers. We can see the trends. So this idea that you give someone the truth versus they observe the truth is was kind of nuts. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And especially in a place of education. Scientific method doesn't start with the hypothesis. It starts with the observation, meaning you don't find the truth because the truth ain't hiding from you. You observe the truth.
Yeah.
Okay. So the idea that we're peddling truth to people, I think, is a misrepresentation. What we're teaching people to do is how to more effectively observe, how to process, how to experiment, and how to analyze those observations to determine the most consistent things so they get the best result more often than not. That's what you get. That's how it works in any type of real legitimate educational environment, which means what would be the virtue of hiding the truth? We're teaching people to observe the truth. Or we're not.
Yeah, or we're not. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So like this is what it is, you know? And a lot of times we get in the cognitive dissonance between tiptoeing around people and stepping on people is challenging.
Yeah.
You know, because you have some situations where like, this is the rules and we run things and you don't run stuff here. And you take away people's agency. And then you got places where like there's fragility because you can't do anything. You can't challenge. And now you getting bullied by people who have been in this world for less time than you've been doing whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah.
Being able to manage the cognitive dissonance, which is literally, in my mind, the one of the more primary values of a liberal arts education.
Yeah.
Is that the marketplace of ideas. You go to have those ideas challenge versus installing information. Yeah. Which is what a lot of people think. They think of it like the Matrix. You go there for 4 years. I know Kung Fu. That's not. No. That's not what was happening. Yeah. You know what I mean? It has to be a learning environment. It has to be a dojo. Sometimes you gotta, know how to throw somebody. Sometimes you gotta know how to fall. Yeah. And you gotta know how to get back up. And so that part, and I just think there's a challenge for that, especially when this person needs X credits, and then they get to move on. Yep. They don't get to move on once they know it. Right. They don't get to move on once they're good at it. Right. They get to move on once they have X credits. That does what it does.
I'd be wholly interested in seeing the business plan for Think 3D University. The University of Think 3D. Yeah. I think some parents would too for their.
It would drive people nuts. It would drive people because it wouldn't make any kind of business sense.
No, which, I mean, thinking about that differently, that perspective is I think worthwhile. Even if it was to work backwards from, like, if this is the ideal. Yeah. What are the how far back do we need to go to actually implement something that gets us closer to a ideal,
the actual outcome? I wouldn't be trying to make a business. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So it wouldn't make business sense. It would make educational sense. It would make mentorship and development sense. It would make apprenticeship sense. It would make real community engagement sense. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? Like, you got to keep the main thing. And that's why when you talk about self-awareness, one of the biggest things people got to be aware about is, like, do you actually believe in this stuff for real? Yeah. Or is this a job? If it's a job, like, I get it. Get your, you gotta get, you gotta do your thing. But then you got to change your expectations. Yes. But if you have the expectations that people want to come here and be here, people want to learn here, they want to engage, they want to do all those things, and that those people are equipped to go out into the world and do amazing things, then you got to really believe that. And you got to move towards that. And one of the hardest things about my job is I got to tell people is that you can't have what you want without doing what it requires. Yeah. You just can't. And so I'm not telling you not to want it, but there's only 2 ways that you can have enough in life. 2 ways. You can get more, you can want less. You know what I'm saying? So how you get more sometimes doesn't align with who you are as a person and things of that nature. And sometimes you got to be willing to want less to be able to say that I'm not willing to do the things that it takes for me to get more. So this is the kind of university we are. Yeah. Because this university is as big as you can get while holding on to these values and principles. Same thing with churches. Yep. Same thing with whatever it is. This is as big as we can get holding on to these values, because if we get bigger, it asks us to pay a price we are not willing to pay. And when people can do that, now they can be responsible for the goal because they're aware of what the goal actually is. Not like the stated goal and then a realistic business goal where I have to try to juxtapose those things. This is the goal.
We saw, it'd be interesting to, I'm not as familiar with his work. There was a president of Compton College who gave a keynote at one of the conferences we were at, where he was talking about your budget has to go to where your values are. That's what creates community, is that you put your money where your mouth is. And just hearing you talk about the stated goal and wanting less or doing more to get there, it just reminded me of that. And we'll have to link that. But it was, again, just sort of calling back to this idea that, a university loves a mission, vision, values statement that they can put on the website, or they can put on the wall, or they can, sort of point back to say that's what we're about. But I've never seen that cited to any freshman that chose that college or university.
If you want to know what a person cares about, Ask to see their checkbook. Ask to see their calendar.
Yeah. What are you doing and where are you spending your money?
You know what I'm saying?
It'll
So
tell-
like,
yeah.
yo, you can tell me you love your kids, but if you always at the bar, we got to do the math. Math it out for me. Help it make sense. You can tell me that you want to be better. You want to spend your money on the book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At some point, we gotta math it.
You got to get to the ledger. Yeah. I mean,
You got the ledger, real accountability is like, yo, what are we really talking about? And I think for universities, for anybody, period, but especially universities, I think once people can really appreciate how freeing it is and how electrifying it is, where you have people who feel free enough to be able to do that thing and to be able to like start to really get after it, and the ways that you can influence young people when they're allowed to do that, and you give them real. Both of us are coaches, football, and I'm not an easy coach.
I've seen it.
You're gonna work, but like, you know, I rock with you.
Yeah.
I don't coach kids like I don't like them.
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you're my guy. I'm responsible for you, so I have to be aware of you. Responsibility is a byproduct of awareness. So now once I'm aware of you, and I'm aware of your circumstances and your situations and how you learn and how you take different feedbacks or whatever. Now I'm responsible for how I deliver my messages, how I coach you so that it's appropriate for you, given that the outcome I want is for you to be a better man first, better football player second. Now my coaching lends itself towards that, and it starts to become customized and things of that nature. And then, of course, that's hard to do on scale. So if you're not interested in teaching that skill to each and every person in your organization, the chances that your good culture that you might have drummed up in your brain gets to the appendages, the fingertips and the toes, is very unlikely unless you have the thoroughways and the pathways and the
intention behind doing that. I think
the intention to do it.
I think that's what it is. At least, I mean, among many things, but it's just this sort of unintentional byproduct of what we do here every day with our budgets and our deadlines and our departments and our leadership, right?
Yeah.
And really going in with some intentional thought behind that. Because I mean, there's some universities that we've met and some leaders that we've met that are doing really great things. And it's usually empowered by the leaders, and it's a very intentional thing. We're going to do this. We're going to change this. This is how we're going to do it. It's all of the stuff you were talking about, right?
You said a key word. I just got to address this real quick. People love the word empower. I mean, they love it almost as much as they love the word accountability, even though, like that word, they rarely understand it. But one of the phrases that people say a lot, shout out Spider-Man, is with every great power comes responsibility. I don't like the way we use that phrase because I think we have it backwards. Nobody gets power first. Where you ever seen it?
Spider-Man.
Where somebody where somebody walks in and they get power first. But even in that instance, Peter Parker was a nerd first.
Yep.
Then he got the power. You never get the power first. When you come into this world, fully vulnerable, powerless, so to speak. You take responsibility, then you get power. It's backwards. Power don't come first. Responsibility come first. So when you take responsibility for yourself, that's when you get power over yourself. Because power lies where people think it lies. If you think it lies with them, it does. If you think it lies with you, it does. If you think when you come into work that because this person has on a different color polo shirt, they're in charge of you, then they are. If you think when you come to work because you're responsible for your efforts, the commitments you made, the things that you want to accomplish here, and how you want to serve your customers, clients, and community, then you're in charge of you. And so one of the biggest things for me, for people just to really kind of understand this, is that responsibility first thing, right? So when we start taking responsibility for how we impact in the lives of all of these other type of people, then we'll start to gain some power. And a lot of this won't feel so helpless.
Yeah.
It won't feel like so much of it is out of your reach, because we're not being honest about what the responsibility is.
I like that a lot. I think we were doing something and someone asked me, what I think leadership is, and that's what I said. Leadership is responsibility. If you're in charge or authoritative or whatever has been bestowed upon you, that is your responsibility then to take up. Right?
I've coached thousands of kids. I don't have any, right? I still see it as my responsibility. Because if I'm not in this kid's life, there's a chance he's going to be in my garage.
Yeah.
Now, once he's in my garage, I could talk about how the world is going to hell in a handbasket and what is his parents doing and blah, 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 all those other type of things. But he already was in my garage. Or I could go further upstream and I can imprint onto that person because I have expectations of how people should behave and how they should interact with the world. And I get to influence producing good, solid individuals that I'm going to want to engage with later. You know, you mentioned our Leaders of Tomorrow program. One of our goals with Leaders of Tomorrow was not because we wanted to produce leaders that will follow us. We wanted to produce leaders we would follow. I'm not always going to want to do this. I don't want to do everything. One of the biggest misconceptions about me is that I want to be in charge of stuff. I don't want to be in charge of
I love
none
that
of this
about
stuff.
you. I love it.
Like, I want to move and do what I'm meant to do. I don't want to be in charge of nothing.
Yeah.
I do it because it needs to get done.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so it's not a matter of, like, again, woo-ha-ha-ha. It's a matter of, hey, that needs to move over there, or that needs to happen. And everybody looks around at each other like, leaders go first. I'll do it. Now, and then I'll teach somebody how to do it after I did it. But I'm going to do it. So it's about producing people. We always would say, excuse me, we always would say, we want to create leaders to where when we go to the polls in 10 years, we're choosing between the best of the best versus the lesser of two evils. Because we develop both of them. We develop both of them. But if this person is developed by this side and this person is developed by this side versus the community developing all of them, that's what that's the type of situation that we have. And so I think sometimes even with that, going back to the premise of the responsibility of engaging and developing people, I may not have a direct path to how this benefits me right now. But what I know is if we don't create quality people on scale, and I shouldn't even say create, if we don't develop quality people on scale, there's a price to be paid for that.
Yeah.
And so when you step back and I look at all of society and I say, where are our greatest opportunities to do that? By far, without question, one of those environments, one of those times is secondary education.
Yeah.
So for me, it's not even a matter of just like good business. Like this is good going to offense. This is that community thing that we're talking about. Like you gotta have real purpose. Sometimes people talk about purpose as a thing on the wall. Like you have many of our next leaders. Let me just give you this quick and I'll land a plane on this, right? But one of the things I think people get confused is when we talk about leaders is where do they come from, number one? And when I hear people complain, they always complain about this as if it's not a result of that. We are always
It just showed up out of the blue.
Right. We're always in outcomes.
Yeah.
So it's always strange to me when people complain about what is and they want to go back to. How did we get here?
Yeah.
Didn't we come from there? You want to go back to that? That's how we got this, you know? And that's the thing that I'm always encouraged.
Yeah.
And that's why you got to be dynamic and be willing to move. So if you're not satisfied with this, we don't want to go back to the things that got us this.
Yeah.
We want to move towards better. Here's the other thing that I'll just tell you, especially as we get more diverse in a lot of conversations that are going in the world. I want you to think about how many groups going back would be better for.
Yeah.
Okay? If somebody were to offer me a time machine, if it don't go forward, I don't want it.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So going back to is not going to be great for most people. Going to better is good for everybody.
Yes. I agree.
So let's head that way.
Agreed. Well, that was one of the concepts that you introduced. Another one that I've taken and really tried to apply is work in the affirmative. Work forward. Work towards the next thing with positive intent, right? Going back, well, this is why this happened. Like, okay, that's good in the assessment of how we got here, but let's leave it there, right? What are we doing next? How are we moving forward? Going forward, one of my favorite phrases from you guys. What are we doing? How are we getting there? What's the plan?
Got it.
What are the activities, right?
Duly noted.
Yes.
Heard, felt, received. now what? Even when I talk to my kids, we talk about it sometimes. It's like, so what, now what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So what, now what? I don't know who promised you fairness, but they did you a disservice. The kid is holding me. Are you better than he is? Yeah, he's supposed to hold you. What are you going to do now?
Right. Yes.
Very good.
I love it. Okay. Anything you want to leave with the people? Think 3D, Culture Cove, Leaders of Tomorrow.
There's so many things. I would just tell people to engage with our socials. Think 3D Solutions, for most of those, or Do Work Better. That's where you can find a lot of our stuff on YouTube. And then you can always check us out at letsthink3d.com, or you can check out theculturecove.com and see what that's all about. We got a lot of cool things happening.
Yeah, we got to get in there, man. We
Yeah,
got to get in there. We're excited about it. Well, awesome. Thank you, Vaney, for coming. We appreciate your time and your perspective always. Thanks for coming.
I dig it, man. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.